Welcome to After the 80. I'm your host, Terry Pascoe. On today's show, it's pretty jam-packed. We'll have a look at round 17 of the Intrust Super Cup. The QRL statistician, Tallon, joins the panel, and we catch up with Tweed Heads coach, Ben Woolf, and have a look at next weekend's games. Joining me on the panel as per usual is Anthony Bomber Breeze. Welcome.
No, we had a good weekend of Intrust games. We had upsets galore there. The ladders moved around a bit, so they're getting exciting.
Interesting times ahead. And also joining us is the QRL's statistician, SEQ chairman, and amongst many other titles, Tallon.
Yeah, great to be here, Terry.
Media man as well.
Absolutely, cover a few bases.
All right, if you'd like to join the discussion, you can find us on Facebook. Just search Phoenix Media Hub, like the page, and leave your comments below. Now, round 17 of the Intrust Super Cup was Indigenous Appreciation Round, and it proved a bit of a tipster's nightmare. Now, just before we go on with that, it is NAIDOC week, and I just want to shout out the theme this year was For Her We Can, or because for her she can, I should say. I'll rephrase that, but because of her we can. I just wanted to do a shout out to my wife, who is an Indigenous woman, and I just say if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today. So thanks, babe, and do love you. Thank you very much for your time. Now, let's have a look at the results from this last round on the weekend. Some huge victories there. Ipswich getting up with a huge win, Bomber.
Yeah, well, Ipswich were probably favourites, but a 54-0 scoreline says they've done it easy, and obviously they did do it easy. But then if you go through the rest of the results there, obviously you can see a few upsets there. A couple of the top teams lost, and a couple of teams that you thought that would have won lost as well. So
now there's one thing that I thought was interesting going back to that Ipswich game is Michael Purcell scored a hat-trick try for the second week in a row, Brad. That's some pretty good stats.
Yeah, he's a try-scoring machine, the kangaroo chaser, isn't he? He's incredible. He's a real bonus to the competition. You know, he's great to watch. He's so quick too, and a few of those tries from kicks through, and he's just so quick to the ball when that kick goes through. Fantastic to watch.
And there's been some also. Last couple of weeks, it's really been a round of the fullbacks. I mean, you look at Scott Drinkwater for East Tigers. He was instrumental. Every one of those points, he had a dabble in, which was quite interesting. Yeah,
he's really hit a rich vein of form, Scott Drinkwater. He's playing really good footy, and that was a big win for them over the Pride, who've been in great form. And
Redcliffe beating PNG in PNG, that was quite impressive considering, you know, Redcliffe's the only second side to take away a win from.
Yeah, well, like we said last week, they also lost a few players too with Opacek and Katoni Staggs, and then moving up to the Broncos there. So they probably went over there a little bit under strength, but obviously they gave a couple of their BRL boys that are pushing for an Intrust debut. They got it there and they got away with the win over there, which is a big win for Redcliffe, which now takes them, I believe, to the top of the ladder, as we'll see later on.
Well, as mentioned, it was the Indigenous Appreciation Round, and the game that really took my interest was Tweed Head versus Wynnum. This was at it was Ron Stark Oval at North Stradbroke Island, and this is quite an incredible game. You know, Wynnum had Dobson and Nona back. You know, Daniel Ogden scored his 150th try in the Intrust Super Cup in the first couple of minutes. What do you think, Bomber?
Well, I thought at first it was obviously good to take it to there. It's obviously getting a bit of water up there, nice green ground up there, and the game itself there turned out to be a very good game. So.
What do you think, Brad? Did you get the chance to have a look at this game?
Yeah, had a look at some of the highlights. Yeah, Daniel Ogden, fantastic. There he is, scoring his 150th, giving us the little sign there. But scored another one later in the game. You'll see 151 tries in 190 games. Incredible strike rate, Daniel Ogden. It's continued a run of great games on television. On the Channel 9 game, the 4 of the last 5 weeks have been under a try. Really great footy.
I know, and that's what you want to see. I mean, our product, you know, we only get one game that goes out. You know, there are games that are live streamed, but this is the only game that goes on Channel 9 each week, and it's quite good to see that there is talent there, and obviously a few first-grade players playing for both sides.
Absolutely, and yeah, it was a really entertaining match. Tweed came back, but just couldn't get there in the end.
No, that's right. We'll be talking to Ben Woolf shortly in the game, but I guess as much as we were talking about Scott Drinkwater for East Tigers, Kane LG was instrumental in the Tweeds' comeback in this. You know, we're seeing a few of the tries here from Wynnum, but you know, the halftime score was 10-6. Wynnum did score 3 tries in 7 minutes. I think it was 4 tries in 15 minutes, which is quite incredible. And it really, they put on a show for the locals.
Yeah, well, the game seemed to turn, didn't it? One team seemed to have the advantage there, and then, like you said, then Wynnum got a bit of ball there, and they went bang, 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 and and looked like they had the game in control quite easily there, but obviously they relaxed a bit, and the Tweed stormed back and nearly got the points at the end.
Now, Brad, I know you've done this trip quite a few times over the years, normally with Channel 9 when you've done the stats. What's this mean to the locals when we take games over to Scarborough?
They thoroughly enjoy it over there. When we've had a couple of great games, I think the year before Tweed led 18-0 and Wynnum came back and won in that game, and so they've been great games. But look, it's getting an opportunity. The kids have a run round beforehand, and there's a few local curtain raisers. And look, it is they get a good turnout over there, and it's really great facilities over there at Dunwich, and it's a beautiful cruise to and from the game as well, which is lovely.
Get some beach time while you're there as well, if you can. All right, Bomber, what was the game that really liked your interest? I actually think, don't want to release too much information, but I'm sure Brad won't be happy about the game you've chosen.
Yeah, well, I've chosen the CQ South game. So, obviously, South had a lot to play for. CQ are down the bottom, obviously playing for pride for the rest of the season there. South got away to a great start there. They scored the first 2 tries there and led 10-0, and then I don't know what happened after that. They just seemed to relax and...
Big Georgie Fay here, just getting over the line. It was good to see him back into the South colours, but I'm sure his NRL experience is probably well appreciated back in the ranks.
Absolutely. South's really struggling at the moment with injury. I think they've got something like 19 of their senior players out injured at the moment, the Magpies, and they start getting them back sort of later in the month. But look, they're clinging to their spot in the 6. They've lost 5 in a row, incredibly, but they're still in the 6, which is amazing. Actually, Barcaldine, it's good to see. I was up there a couple of weeks ago. Went up there to the Outback Carnival actually at Barcaldine. Great time. We had a great time up there. And as you can see, all the tourists are camped around the ground, so they get a bit of an extra entertainment.
I was going to say, look at all their camper van. This is amazing. But this is what country football's about. And I mean, I think it's only a couple of weeks away that we've got country round in the Intrust Super Cup. So the biggest thing out of this game, though, no Dave Taylor. I guess we're hearing from Kim Williams that no, he just pulled up a bit ginger. If his calf, he'd be fine, but didn't end up playing. But the other interesting part is Billy Gilbert coming off the bench. I mean, he was their star in the halves early in the year, but now he's playing more of a hooker role. Yeah,
I don't know, but obviously the coaches obviously assumed a different role for him now, and maybe moving him around, he may just feel that he's better served in a different position. So I don't know. You know what coaches are like there. They do some strange things sometimes, but obviously it's been coming off. So.
Now, Tana Boyd debuted for the Magpies, fullback.
Yeah, got special dispensation to play Tana, and he's only 17, doesn't turn 18 till late July, so with Corey Allen away at the under-20s. So put in a good performance, scored a try, so we'll be happy with that, and look, he's definitely a player of the future.
So does he, being that he's only 17, does he have to ask special
permission
to play?
Correct, yeah, until you actually physically turn 18, normally you can't play. But he did get special permission because of, as I said, Corey Allen being in the Queensland under-20 side.
And he's an exciting young player as well. It's interesting to see how he's going to develop in that side. Do you think that he's sort of earned a more regular place on the South?
Look, I don't think they push him a bit like Dave Fafita. You know, they didn't push him through. They let him play the full season, the Malmaninga. So, look, I think they'll adopt the same approach with Tanner Boyd. I don't think they'll push him too early. But look, I'm sure he could get a couple more shots before the end of the year, just depending on player availability.
And I just wanted to quiz you on that. David Fafita, quite interesting. Played a full year in Malmaninga Cup. Played, 2 games in Intrust Super Cup, and he's straight into first grade.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt he's an outstanding talent, and once again, it's just a matter at that age, you've just got to be a little bit careful with him. Look, I'm sure Wayne Bennett will be overseeing his development, make sure that he's not stretched too much at this stage of his career.
All right, well, that's all the footage that we've seen was courtesy of the QRL media. If you'd like to see all the highlights and interviews from the weekend, please head to qrl.com.au. As mentioned, Brad, you're a man of many talents. You're a busy man in rugby league. You've given a fair amount of time to rugby league in Queensland. I guess you're the stats man for the QRL. You're often on ABC Grandstand doing stats and interviews and sideline gigs. You're also the chairman of the South East Queensland Rugby League division. Mate, what role do you love the most? What brings you most joy?
Refereeing.
I was going to say, I missed that
one. I'm still a referee. You know, look, it's quite. I get out there once a week, every Saturday afternoon. You'll see me plying slowly around the ground somewhere on the north side. Look, I love the game, and I especially love getting out there and refereeing. I just find it very relaxing once a week. But you know, all the other tasks are all a labour of love, that's for sure. But you know, I still enjoy getting out there with the whistle and having a bit of a run around. And it's a great opportunity for me to speak to the people involved at the grassroots of the game. You know, after the game or during the game, see what the issues are. So I find it very helpful as part of helping with my other roles.
And I guess, how long have you been refereeing for? Because I guess you've been doing it for quite a long time.
41st year. So I'm still trying to get it right.
Well, your tackle counts were down early in the year. I'm sure you're giving Bernie Sutton a call so I could get you 3 penalties.
Yeah, the penalties. I had 6 last weekend, 3 all, so they're all very happy. Good refereeing performance when you get that.
You attended the QRL Life Member induction ceremony last night. Obviously, that was a big do at the casino there. Hope you didn't lose too much money later on on that night. What was that like, and who was inducted?
Yeah, look, it was great to see one person obviously very close to Ipswich Rugby League, and Peter Betros, former chairman of the QRL, got his life membership, richly deserved, and it was great to hear him go through his involvement with the game over many, many years, starting by playing at St Mary's in the first, who incidentally just won the Confraternity Shield in Toowoomba, so which was great. So he went right through from that to be chair of the QRL and a tremendous contributor there. I think he refereed 9 Ipswich Grand Finals. So he's an incredible contributor to the game at all levels. And the other was unfortunately posthumously to Terry McEnroth. Mary's wife was there, and was sad obviously the loss of Terry earlier in the year. But it was great to see those two. Great people who've contributed to QRL recognise Terry not only at the board level but in his role in government. Always a big supporter, of course, of the rebuild of Suncorp Stadium, and was heavily involved with East Carina as well through his career. Can
I get your take on the hysteria around trying to name a stand for him? I mean, I don't see a problem with, yes, he's not a great player like Cameron Smith and all that, but surely with the work he's done within the QRL and also in the Parliament, being it is a government-owned stadium, so...
Yeah, it's unfortunate these things get tied up in politics. Of course, the Frank Burke stand, which was there originally, was named after, funnily enough, the person who Frank was involved in actually getting Lang Park for rugby league, as becoming rugby league's home. So it was a little bit, in a way, similar to what Terry has done for there. But look, these things unfortunately occasionally get mixed up with the politics of it, and it was a bit disappointing to see the controversy over it. But look, I'm sure Terry will continue to be recognised in appropriate ways as we go forward, because he has been a great contributor not only to rugby league but to the whole state of Queensland.
You've been involved with the Queensland Cup for a fair while. Do you have a favourite memory?
Oh, you'll hate me for that one. You don't even have to ask that. 2008, do you? The 2008 grand final at Ipswich, the mighty Magpies getting home. Look, it's been great to be involved that time. One thing I did really enjoy was the opportunity to assist in the picking of the 20-year team. I had a lot of fun doing that with likes of David Wright and so on. And but look, it's been a great competition. It's grown from sort of humble roots, and now I think it's right up there. Its quality's fantastic, and certainly a lot of people say it's up there with the second best comp in the world. And it's great to see our ability to spread it throughout the state and make it a statewide competition, and be able to sustain it now for 23 years.
Now, I guess this day and age we've got a lot of social media and new outlets of being able to air the talent. You've been on the forefront with the BRL and that with getting games live streamed. Do you think the game needs to do more of that? They need to get more involved of having games live so people can jump online and watch it?
Absolutely, and the QRL at the moment, well, the NRL and the QRL are working at getting a platform sorted out to do that. So hopefully in the very near future, with a lot of the work that the NRL is putting into the digital, there's going to be a common platform. At the moment, it's up to a lot of the clubs to do their own, and it's all a bit disjointed. But certainly it is the future, and people do want to be able to get online and see their teams play. Certainly the numbers we see at all sorts of games are incredible. I'm involved in the live stream of the InSafe Hands Cup in Brisbane, and the sort of numbers we get in that are incredible, plus the numbers we get to watch the live streams of state carnivals, junior carnivals. So, there's certainly, I think in the end, I can see a sort of a digital channel, if you like, a digital online channel devoted to rugby league.
You've also been there since the women's game started many years ago there, and obviously it's been getting better and better. Where do you see it standing now? We've obviously got the Origin.
Oh, look, there's still a long way to go. I think we've got to be careful not to rush it too hard. I think, there's a lot of people want to go 3 Origin, full-length seasons at an NRL level. We're not ready for that yet. We've got to continue to build the grassroots game. I was up in Mackay at the weekend at the State Junior Carnival, which has an under-14 and under-16 girls, and we were talking about it last night with the other chairs actually, and the difference is, back in the old days at the 16s and 14s girls, 3 or 4 years ago, there was 3 or 4 girls in each team who were okay, but the rest sort of, to some degree make up the number. 16s now, each team, fantastic, all the players, and the 14s are probably just starting to get to that stage. So we've got to continue to work on developing the strong base of the game so that we can support, Origin and an NRL competition at the top, because if we don't get the base right, we won't be able to go through and sustain the top level competition at a level that people will continue to want to watch.
I guess, and that's true, like you don't want to be putting, 16 teams in the NRL and then you completely scramble up what's going on the local level. And
that's right, and look, we're very keen. We've got some work coming up. We still want to see those Gillaroos playing in the local competition next year. Obviously, we're going to have to change our comp around to make that happen, but certainly the first half of the year, we want the girls and the women to be able to come on and play with Gillaroos in the first half of the season. So, so they get the opportunity to be exposed to that sort of talent. And we'll continue, with our camps. And, well, as I said, we're working with the other division chairs. I'm working with the other division chairs to make sure we have appropriate opportunities through, say, under 18s and things like that to get more carry through and get the girls an opportunity to compete at a higher level on more occasions.
Now, obviously, you're here and you are an administrator, but I also want to touch on what your thoughts are on tonight's game, the State of Origin. I can't not get your opinion on this. What do you think? What do you think will happen tonight? Look,
I'm quietly confident, to tell you the truth. I think that, the team's very fired up. Obviously, they want to send Billy out a winner, and it's great to see him captain. He's an absolute ornament to the game, and the way he's carried himself through his entire career, even to things like being not picked last year and Kevin Walter's worst ever decision. But look, he's been a great ambassador for the game. You've got Daly Cherry Evans with a lot to prove. He wants to show his best, and I think that side is just a little bit better balanced than the team for the second Origin. Although of course, missing the likes of Greg Inglis is going to be very difficult. So. Look, I think I'm looking forward to a good performance, and I'm quietly confident.
Do you think DCE is probably a victim of probably being a bit more ahead of the game to where he needs to be? Like, I will admit that I am a Manly supporter straight away, but the problem I've seen in him is that he was putting himself first. Players, they'd make a fair bit of money now, but they never used to. And I guess he's put himself as a product, and he's tried to get the most while he's in a playing career. Do you feel like that's been a bit of his demise?
Yeah, it's interesting because you can hardly blame the players. They've only got a short career, and you can never begrudge them the opportunity to get as much as they can. It's a bit of a balance. I think it was a bit unfortunate when he first came into Origin, that game that they lost. He got thrown into the fray when Cooper Cronk got hurt early. They hadn't really trained with him at halfback, and the team got a bit lost, and I think he bore the brunt of that, because I don't think he had a style that really suited playing with Jonathan Thurston. So I think that with that, and then the issue with the Gold Coast and Manly meant that people did have a bit of a set against him. But look, he's a talented player, there's no doubt about that. And look, he's been great in the camp by all reports, and look, I'm sure he wants to get out there and redeem himself with the public tonight.
Yeah, no, and from what I've seen, I do watch. My TV doesn't really go off Fox League most of the time, but I have seen that Mel Meninga come out and apologise to him, saying that in that preparation in that year that he didn't let him do his thing. He tried to orchestrate Daly and how he played, and I think hopefully this time, if he can play his own game, his natural game.
And I think he will. I think that's what he's been told to do, get out and play a natural game, because Cameron Munster can pretty much play with anyone. I think that he's not a Thurston. He's not going to try and control the game. So I think Daly Cherry Evans has got a chance to get out there tonight and really show what he's capable of. All
right, well, let's have a look at the competition ladder after round 17. A few interesting movements. I think it's at for and against with Redcliffe and Townsville at the moment. Redcliffe really got boosted by their huge win over Wynnum the other day, but I guess Townsville coming back with the Falcons. What do you reckon, Bob?
Well, obviously now we've got 3 teams on top of the ladder with the Pride obviously down their neck there. But like Brad mentioned earlier, South with 5 losses in a row. You had a couple of wins out of them. If they won 2 out of them, they're right up there too. So obviously they've got to change their fortunes around the next few weeks.
And the interesting one's also Norse. Norse they knock off Burleigh, but they haven't really been performing through that bit. They had 5 losses in a row as well.
Yeah, they're an interesting side, North. I think they're a bit of the sleepers of the competition, North. I'm luckily enough, I'm going up to see them play PNG up in Lay in a couple of weeks' time, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, they as you said, they've been a little bit inconsistency. If Rowan Smith can get them playing consistently, I think they'll be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. All
right, we have a look over. That's the top 6 at the moment. We'll have a look over and see the teams that are fighting for a position. Now, again, you got to remember, Souths are on 18, so you've also got East, Ipswich and Tweed Heads who can all fire and still make the finals.
Yeah, well, look, East's, they probably had a disappointing start to the season. When you have a look at the talent they've got on display, but they've actually started to hit their straps a little bit more in the last few weeks, and I'm sure they're going to be, a real competitors. And Ipswich, well, what are they going to turn on from week to week? Yeah, we saw what they could do in last week's game, and they can beat anyone on their day.
Well, that's where they've got their speed men as well. I mean, when I watched the highlights of the Ipswich game, that's all I could see is speed, and speed's dynamite. Speed's gold in rugby league.
Oh, that's right. If you've got centres and wingers with pace there, then tries, and obviously they got a full-back, like we said, like Michael Purcell, that I watched him against PNG. The gap was only about 1.5 metres wide, and he just went straight through it. And he doesn't even look like he's running, but no one can catch him.
And don't underestimate their forwards now. Crazy McConaughey back, and Nat Neal, Ben Shay's new lease of life. So they've got the team that can go very deep into the finals. The Jets, if they can just get a little bit more consistency.
And the one that's probably the big mention is Central Capras. Do you see Kim Williams going, where was this? Where was this at the start of the year? Should he have resigned earlier?
well, maybe they've had 2 weeks in a row since the announcement, so yeah, maybe.
All right. As mentioned earlier, Tweed Heads travelled to North Stradbroke Island and were just shy of getting the 2 points. Joining us now is the Seagulls coach Ben Woolf. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Mate, you boys were unlucky over the weekend. What can you take out of the match?
Yeah, look, it was a tough game over there. Wynnum have got a quality football side. They haven't had the results I guess they wanted this year, but they've been close a lot of times. We knew it was going to be a tough task. Look, the pleasing thing from our perspective, we didn't have a lot of field possession, and we still almost got the points at the end of the day. Kaya grabs that ball at the end. We score in the corner, we almost win the game. So we scrambled really well and showed when we could get down there, end of the field, we could score points.
Now, it was the Indigenous appreciation round the Intrust Super Cup. What does that mean to you and your team?
Oh, look, it's obviously big. We got in that Tweed area and in our club, we've got a lot of Indigenous players. So for those guys to be recognised through our competition, and the Indigenous players of the past as well is great for the game and great for those guys individually. And
does it make it a bit more special that you take this game to North Stradbroke Island?
Yeah, I think it does. There was a lot of people over there, and it allowed their community over at North Stradbroke there and at Dunwich to get down and see a high quality game of rugby league. And the crowd was good, and it was a great place to play the game as well.
Now, mate, you had your fair share of injuries this year, and also had some NRL players come back to be able to assist with that. But how much do you love coaching in the Intrust Super Cup?
Oh, look, it's a tough one. Like we have had some injuries, the key fellas, and we have been lucky enough to get some quality players back. They've obviously not been performing at that top level, so they come back out of form and low on confidence, I guess. But those guys we get back, they buy right into our club, and a lot of those guys I've either coached before or have played for Tweed Heads before, so. They do a good job for us there, and it can be frustrating. When you got 6 or 7 guys coming back, but you don't see them till a Friday night, and they might be different guys week in, week out. It's definitely challenging, but it's also great to work with those players as well.
I guess what does a player like Kane Elgee bring to this side? We know that he come back with, I guess, probably a lack of confidence in first grade, but it seems like he's just hit the ground running in the Intrust Super Cup.
Yeah, no, he's been good. I coached Kane in my first year coaching the Titans under-20s, and he was the captain of my side that year and ended up picking up Player of the Year. So we got a great relationship. So he comes back and buys into the place. Like I said, his form's been a little bit indifferent at times, which he's aware of, and he's in a tough position where he's, I guess, playing for a contract going forward and also trying to get back into a first grade side. So it's very difficult for those guys individually as well. But he's a great player, mate. He's got a good kicking game. He's good running game. So, yeah, he's added to us for sure.
And we talk about injury losses and that, but also you've lost AJ Brimson, who was one of your star players at the start of the year, but now he's making his way in first grade. How do you see his performance has been in the last few weeks? And also, he was selected for the under-20s Queensland side as well.
Yeah, look, that's the thing as well. Like we have got these guys back, but the flip side of it, I guess, is AJ and Milwaukee and Keegan Hipgrave and the guys we had playing and going well early in the year have gone up to replace them. So you're sort of swapping one for one at times. But look, AJ's been going well. Like, he's a good player. We moved him back to fullback to free up his game a little bit and get some confidence. He probably started the year a little bit slow. His first year playing with men. But he's progressed along well. He played a couple of seasons under me in the under-20s, and he's a very talented young player. He just probably needs to he's starting to get his confidence at that first grade level. I think once he starts to run the ball a little bit more, we'll see what he can really do there.
And I guess this is your first year of coaching in the Intrust Super Cup. You were in the NYC, the under-20s competition. I guess, is that the biggest challenge, is getting some of these guys that were in the under-20 system playing with men?
Yeah, look, it can be. The good ones, like Milwaukee and AJ and those guys, just sort of take it in their stride. And, we're a young squad anyway. A lot of our guys are only 21, 22 that have just probably come out of the NYC. So, and a lot of them have probably played together previously. But, it is challenging. They're obviously a bit more educated in their football, and a bit more mature in their football, which helps. But, that can be a challenge for some of those young guys. And I think it definitely takes a few rounds for them to get used to it. And that's probably why the Intrust Super Cup's so valuable to the NRL teams.
Now, mate, your team is currently sitting in 9th place, which sounds a bit daunting when it's only a top 6, but you're equal on 18 points. I guess you're still in contention to play final football, but what do you think needs to change after probably the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one for us. I thought both games, like I said, on the weekend, we probably had some areas we weren't great in, and Wynnum probably beat us up a little bit in the middle, but we scrambled well enough and found points to put ourselves in a position to still almost win that game. And against Burleigh the week before, the first 35 minutes, we were very dominant in that. We leaked a couple of soft tries leading in the half time, and they come out and got an intercept and got another one, which is a bit lucky off a kick. So we're definitely still around it. The challenging thing for us at the moment is again, the Titans have been pretty lucky with injuries, which means we've been able to keep a pretty consistent team, even with those Titans guys in there. But with our injury toll mountain and the Titans obviously having to draw more and more, our depth is being stretched, really being tested, and that's going to be the biggest challenge for us. We have 3 debutants on the weekend. Those guys stepping up and showing that they can do a job and finding that consistent footy at this grade. All
right, now you got South this week at home. I guess they've got their injury concerns. This could be a very interesting clash, but I guess if you win this, it shows that you really are in contention for the finals. Yeah, for sure. We knew we had a tough month after the bye with Burleigh, South, and Townsville next week as well. And like I said before, Wynnum are always a dangerous side. They've got a very good roster, so it's just only a matter of time before they click. But South are probably similar to us. They've got us and them have probably got the highest number of NRL affiliate players, which works both ways. And I think when we had a bit of consistency around our roster, they're the same. When they had a bit of consistency around their roster early on, they were travelling really well. And they've probably got the same challenges as us, where they've fallen into a bit of a hole and got a lot of their own injuries, then lost a lot of those quality players as well. So it'll be a good one because we're both probably desperate to get a win. We both probably need a win to stay in touch with that top 6. So it'll be a real big challenge this week. All right. Well, good luck. And also good luck in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you get the wood over your brother again. Yeah, my brother and my son's playing up there as well for them. Right. So it's definitely one we need to get a win on. They touched us up a bit last time, so need to bounce back. All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. And thank you very much to Ben Woolf there from the Tweed Heads Seagulls. They're the clearies of the Intrust Super Cup, which is quite impressive. But let's have a look at this weekend's games. Round 17 of the Intrust Super Cup. This is a tipster's nightmare. I've just given up. I'm just circling the home sides. Well, I got 2 from 7 last week, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to be much help here. But yeah, some great games coming up this weekend. Bomber, what do you see? What's the key game this week? Well, there's key games everywhere. Dolphins and Bears, they need to
stay near the top of the ladder. The Jets need to win to move up. Tweed need to win to go up. South need to win to avoid their 5 in a row. The Falcons need to win. North need to win. East need to win, and the Hunters and the Pride have got to win.
Well, Hunters and Pride will just have a draw.
And they all can't win.
Well, the interesting one's obviously the Dolphins, because they're going to be without key players again. But I guess they could take some motivation, because they were without Staggs, Turpin and Pearson for PNG, and they beat PNG and PNG. So
yeah, there was a great effort up there, and look, the Bears just seem to be faltering a little bit at the moment. I think they're not playing as well. They went down to Norths last week, so I think the Dolphins at home on the TV game will be keen to pick up the win there and go 2 points clear of the Bears at the top of the table.
And obviously the other huge clash is the Tweed Heads Seagulls up against the Magpies. They're both in very similar positions, so it's sort of really hard to tip which one's going to win. I mean, I'd tip Tweed because they're at home, but South bring their A game.
Well, they're in trouble. If they go to 6th, I don't think they can survive a loss this weekend and stay in the 6th, the Magpies. So it's really a crunch time for the Magpies now. And as I said, they're still suffering from some injury worries. So a really important game for them to really get their season back on track, the Magpies. But Seagulls will be smarting after that loss last weekend, and I think they'll be tough to beat down at Piggabeen. Well,
that's round 18 of the Intrust Super Cup. Let's see how it all goes. Now, just before we go, I will mention that the shirt I'm wearing today is from Bendara Clothing. It's an art piece done by Nathan Patterson. It's about past, present and future. So if you do obviously like it, go onto Bendara Clothing and have a look around. They've got some amazing clothing options on there as well. And obviously, tip for Origin tonight?
Oh, Queensland, definitely.
Queensland by how many?
12.
12.
Pretty confident.
Ruth. But anyway, I think this game's probably going to be the most open game, so it's probably going to be more points than the other two there. So I'll go New South Wales by 12.
I'll go Queensland by 2 with DCE getting man of the match. A little bit of soft spot. I know the Cherry family as well. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Brad, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
And Bomber, also thank you very much for your hard work as per usual.
No worries, good to be here, good to be talking about the greatest game of all.
All right, and a huge big thank you to Ben Woolf as well from Tweed Heads. If you'd like to keep up to date with the show, make sure you head to our Facebook page, Phoenix Media Hub. I'm Terry Pascoe. We'll see you next week.